The red light from dying stars bounced off the metal walls of the Defiant as Admiral Kim Hannah stood very still on the bridge. She watched the last human ships running away from New Geneva Colony. The Vorthok Collective was coming down like hungry monsters, their strange biomechanical ships moving like they were alive. "Admiral, the last transport ship is safe," said Lieutenant Park Minho. His voice shook a little. He was only 25 years old, but he had already seen too much death in war. Hannah's face was hard like stone. The Vorthok ships could not be hurt by any human weapons. They worked together like one big brain, making them almost impossible to beat. Behind her, the other human commanders talked quietly about giving up, but Hannah knew better. The Vorthok did not take prisoners. They ate entire worlds. "Ma'am, we are getting the final messages from the outer colonies," called Communications Officer Li Jiang. Her hands shook as she worked the controls. It's all just noise now. Every human world beyond the Kepler line has gone quiet. Bridge became silent except for the sound of the failing life support systems. Hannah closed her eyes and thought about the billions of people already dead. Children who would never see another sunrise. Families torn apart by enemies who saw humans as nothing more than food. The Vorthok had been destroying human colonies one by one for months. Each attack was the same. Their bioships would appear in space like ghosts, moving without sound. They would surround a planet and then begin their work. Humans would fight back with everything they had, but it was never enough. The Vorthok. Technology was too advanced, their coordination too perfect. Admiral Captain Song Daeho walked over, his old face full of worry. "There's something else. We have lost all contact with Earth. Complete silence for the past 6 hours." The words hit everyone on the bridge like a punch to the stomach. If Earth had fallen, then humanity's home world was gone forever. The place where humans first learned to walk, to think, to dream of the stars. All of it could be dead now. Hannah opened her eyes and stared out at the approaching Vorthok fleet. Their bioships moved like hunting animals, getting closer for the final kill. The alien vessels were beautiful in a terrible way. It looked like they were made of metal and bone mixed together, pulsing with strange light. The human fleet was now just a few dozen ships. Once they had hundreds of warships protecting thousands of colonies. Now they were running and hiding like scared animals. Many of the crew members wanted to surrender. Some had already suggested sending a message to the Vorthok, offering to give up if they would stop the killing. But Hannah had studied the Vorthok for years. She knew they did not understand mercy. They were a hive mind, all thinking the same thoughts, all wanting the same thing. They wanted to consume everything in their path. Humans were just another species to be harvested. "The Vorthok ships are getting closer," reported the weapons officer. "They will be in firing range in 10 minutes. Our weapons are almost out." "Of power," added the engineer. "We used most of our energy in the last battle." Hannah looked around at her crew. These people had followed her through 3 years of losing battles. They had watched their friends die, their homes burn, their families disappear. But they were still here, still fighting. The Vorthok had made one mistake. They thought humans were like other species they had conquered. They thought humans would give up when things got hard. They thought fear would make humans weak. They were wrong. "Helm set course for the asteroid belt meeting point," Hannah ordered. Her voice was strong and clear, cutting through the fear. "All ships, prepare for quantum. Jump. We are not giving up today." The crew looked at her with surprise. The asteroid belt was far away, and the quantum jump would use the last of their fuel. But something in her voice made them believe. Maybe they could not win this war, but they could keep fighting. "Admiral, if we make this jump, we will not have enough fuel to run again," warned the navigation officer. "Then we better make it count," Hannah replied. As the Defiant and the other human ships prepared to jump away, the Vorthok fleet moved closer. Their bioships were making strange sounds like singing, but the song was about death and hunger. The quantum drive started up, making the ships shake and hum. Space began to bend around them, creating a tunnel to safety. But safety was temporary. Vorthok would keep hunting until every human was dead. "Jump initiated," called the helm officer. The last thing Hannah saw before the jump was the Vorthok ships reaching the place where New Geneva used to be. The colony was gone now, just rocks and dust floating in space. Another human world erased from existence, but as the human fleet disappeared into the quantum tunnel, they carried something with them. Not hope exactly, but something harder and more dangerous. The refusal to die quietly. The decision to keep fighting even when fighting seemed impossible. The Vorthok had won this battle, but the war was not over. Somewhere in the dark between the stars, the last free humans were planning their next move. 6 months had passed since the fall of the outer colonies. The asteroid belt had become humanity's hiding place, but it felt more like a tomb. Hidden inside the rocky space between Mars and Jupiter, the last human survivors lived in converted mining ships and broken space stations. Food was running out. Hope was dying. Dr. Choi Hunhua worked alone in his small laboratory on the Prometheus, a ship that used to mine asteroids but now served as their mobile base. His lab was a mess of wires, broken computers, and strange machines he had built from scraps. He had not slept in 3 days, and his hands shook as he worked on something that looked impossible. "You have lost your mind," said Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin. Looking at the weird device Hunwoo claimed was a quantum tunnel drive, "This thing will either tear us apart or throw us into a black hole. It's better than waiting here to die," Hunhua replied, his voice tired but determined. He adjusted a glowing component with careful hands. "The Vorthok are searching every system. They will find us soon." The Vorthok were patient hunters. They did not rush. They moved through space like a disease, checking every planet, every moon, every asteroid. They had time. Humans did not. "Even if this crazy machine works," Soo-jin continued, "we have no idea where it will take us. We could end up anywhere in the galaxy." "I know where we need to go," Hunwoo said quietly. Air like a prayer. Earth. The home world that had gone silent months ago. The place where humanity was born, where their ancestors first looked up at the stars and dreamed of traveling to them. Admiral Kim Hannah appeared in the doorway. Her uniform was patched and faded, but she still looked like a leader. Of running and hiding had made her thinner, but her eyes still burned with fierce determination. "Explain it to me again, Doctor," she said, stepping into the cramped lab. Hunwoo stood up straighter. "The quantum tunnel drive lets us slip between the layers of space itself. Can travel through dimensions that the Vorthok cannot see or follow. Could reach Earth in hours instead of months. But it has never been tested," Engineer Nam pointed out. "The power needed could kill everyone on the ship. And even if it works, it is a one-way trip. We would burn out every system making the jump." Captain Yoon Guan had been listening from the hallway. She stepped forward, her face worried. "Earth is behind enemy lines now. Even if we somehow reach it, we will probably find nothing but a dead world." Around them, the asteroid base was full of quiet sadness. Children cried in the distance. Their parents tried to explain why they might never see real sunlight again. Families shared tiny amounts of food, knowing tomorrow there might be less. The human survivors numbered in the thousands now, not millions. They lived in recycled air and artificial light. Some had given up completely, just sitting in dark corners and waiting for the end. Others kept working, but their movements were slow and hopeless. "The Vorthok will find us within 2 weeks," Hannah said, looking at the reports on her tablet. "Our scouts have detected their search patterns. They are getting closer. Maybe we should surrender," suggested someone from the hallway. "Maybe they will let some of us live." "No," Hannah said firmly. "I've studied the Vorthok. They do not take prisoners. They consume everything." She looked at Hyanwoo's machine again. It was built from parts taken from destroyed ships, held together with hope and desperation. The quantum tunnel drive was humanity's last crazy idea. Their final gamble against impossible odds. "How many people can the Prometheus carry?" she asked. 8 people, no more," Hunwoo answered. "Any more, and we will not have enough power for the jump." The decision felt like choosing who would live and who would die. Hannah was sending 8 people on a suicide mission to a world that might already be dead. But as she looked around at the faces of her people, she realized they were already dying here. "If Earth is still alive, they need to know we are still fighting," she said. "If Earth is dead, then we need to know that too." The engineer checked her instruments. The drive. Needs 12 hours to charge. After that, we either jump or the power cells explode. Then we jump, Hannah decided. Prepared the Prometheus. As the crew began getting ready for their desperate mission, none of them knew what they would find at Earth. They expected to discover a dead world burned and empty. They expected to find nothing but silence and ruins. They were wrong. Dr. Heinwu worked through the night, making final adjustments to his impossible machine. The quantum tunnel drive hummed with dangerous energy, ready to tear a hole through space itself. In 12 hours, 8 humans would step into the unknown. Carrying with them the hopes of their dying species, the Prometheus was ready for its final journey. The crew was ready to die trying. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, Earth was waiting for them with a surprise that would change everything. The desperate gambit was about to begin. The quantum tunnel drive died with a horrible screaming sound as the Prometheus fell back into normal space near Earth. Captain Yoon Giwan fought to control the ship while alarm bells rang everywhere. Smoke filled the bridge and sparks flew from broken machines. The drive is completely destroyed, reported engineer Nam Sujin, holding her burned arm. We are running on emergency power only. We cannot make another jump. Forget the drive, whispered communications officer Kong Min-seok, staring at his screen with wide eyes. You need to see this. The main screen flickered and showed Earth in the distance. But this was not the blue and green world from old pictures. Earth was red and angry, covered in the glow of constant fighting. Pieces of destroyed ships floated around the planet like deadly rings. Vorthok bioships swarmed in space around Earth, but something was wrong. They were not landing. They were being pushed back. That is impossible, Dr. Hunwoo said quietly. The Vorthok should have taken Earth months ago. Someone is trying to talk to us, Min-seok said, adjusting his broken equipment. It is human. A tired but strong voice came through the speakers. Unknown ship. This is Earth Defense Command. Tell us who you are right now, or we will destroy you. Earth is under Protocol Inferno. Come closer at your own risk. Captain Yoon turned. On the reply system, Earth Defense. This is the Prometheus. We are from Admiral Hannah's fleet. We thought Earth was dead. A long silence. Then the voice came back. Earth does not die. This is Dr. King Myra, Planetary Defense Leader. I am sending you safe flying directions. Welcome to hell. As the Prometheus flew down toward Earth's damaged surface, the crew saw something that should not be possible. The planet itself had become a weapon. The air around Earth was thick and poisonous, confusing the Vorthok sensors. Automatic gun platforms powered by the planet's hot core fired constantly at the alien ships overhead. Even the weather was dangerous now. Storms that could melt alien metal. Winds that carried deadly germs. They landed where Seoul used to be. But now, it was a fortress city built into the mountain. Dr. Kong Mira met them at the landing area. She was a smart woman whose eyes looked tired from making hard choices. Earth has been under attack for 14 months, she explained as they walked through tunnels cut from living rock. When we lost contact with the space fleet, we knew we were alone. So we did what humans do best. We changed everything. The underground city was amazing and terrible. Millions of people lived in small spaces, but they were not giving up. Children played under artificial sunlight while their parents worked day and night to keep the planet's defenses running. It was humanity at its most basic. Hurt, but not broken. Vorthok have tried everything, Mira continued, showing them through the command center. They sent 1 million bioships. We poisoned the air to confuse them. They tried to land ground troops. We made the soil itself eat their machines. They blocked out the sun. They learned to live in darkness. Captain Yoon looked at the displays showing the battle above. How are you still alive? We turned Earth into something the Vorthok cannot understand, Mira said with a grim smile. They think in straight lines. We think in circles. They try to conquer. We try to survive. The planet's defenses were incredible. Genetically changed plants that could sense alien DNA and release poison. Underground factories that built weapons. From recycled metal, Computer systems that learned from every Vorthok attack and got smarter each time. But you cannot hold forever, said Dr. Hyan-Wu, studying the technical reports. Myra's smile disappeared. You are right. Systems are breaking down. The poisoned air is killing our crops. The automatic weapons are running out of power. The people are getting sick from living underground. Like she led them to a window that looked out over the battle-scarred landscape. In the distance, they could see Vorthok ships trying to land, but Earth's defenses kept pushing them back. Explosions lit up the sky like deadly fireworks. You have maybe 3 weeks before everything fails, Mira admitted. Protocol Inferno was always meant to be temporary. We were buying time for the fleet to come back. The crew of the Prometheus looked at each other. They knew the terrible truth. There was no big fleet coming to save Earth, just a few broken ships and desperate people scattered across the galaxy. There is something else, Mira said quietly. Our spies have detected something new. The Vorthok are building a massive attack fleet, bigger than anything they have used before. They are planning to crack Earth open like an egg. Through the window, they could see the alien ships in orbit, waiting like hungry wolves. The Vorthok had been patient, but their patience was ending. Soon they would bring enough force to break through Earth's defenses and finish what they started. When? Asked Captain Yoon. Soon, Mira replied. Very soon. But as the crew looked around at Earth's impossible defenses, at the people who had turned their homeworld into a fortress, they began to understand something important. The Vorthok had made a mistake. They thought humans would be easy to defeat. They had never fought people who had nothing left to lose. Earth was burning, but it was still fighting, and that made all the difference. The quantum communicator and the Prometheus made crackling sounds as Admiral Kim Hanna's voice came through, mixed with static and distance. All human ships that are still alive. This is Admiral Hanna. We are coming home. Dr. Kong Mira stood in Earth's main command center, looking at the holographic displays that showed the approaching human fleet. 17 broken ships carrying the last free humans in the galaxy. It was a tiny force compared to the Vorthok army now gathering beyond Jupiter, but it was everything humanity had left. Admiral, our defense systems are dying, Mira reported into the communicator, her fingers working quickly on the control panels. The changed plants and animals are breaking down faster than we thought. It may be 2 days before everything stops working. Through the thick windows of the command center, they could see the Vorthok final attack fleet. Over 10,000 bioships filled the space around Jupiter, including massive world-killer ships that were bigger than anything humans had ever seen. The alien vessels moved slowly like predators that knew their prey was trapped. Captain Yoon walked up to the command station, her face full of worry. The outer defense guns are reporting they are almost out of ammunition. We are down to 20% of our space weapons. What about the underground cities? Asked Dr. Hun-Woo, checking the biological warfare systems on his screen. Too many people, not enough supplies, and running out of clean air, replied Engineer Nam Soo-jin. The air cleaning machines are breaking down and we cannot make new parts fast enough. All around the command center, people worked frantically at their stations. Red warning lights flashed constantly. The sounds of distant explosions echoed through the mountain as Vorthok probes tested Earth's weakening defenses. Mira closed her eyes, feeling the weight of billions of lives pressing down on her. Protocol Inferno had been a desperate plan. Turn Earth itself into a weapon to buy time for rescue that might never come. Now, with the fleet returning, she faced an impossible choice. Watch Earth die slowly from the inside, or die fighting against impossible odds. The underground cities are reporting food shortages, said a technician. People are starting to get sick from the poisoned air leaking into the tunnels. The automatic defense platforms are overheating, added another worker. Them beyond their limits. Mira looked at the tactical display showing the approaching human fleet. 17 ships against 10,000. Admiral Hanna was bringing her people home to die, but at least they would die together. Dr. Myra, Communications Officer Kang Min-seok, called out. Admiral Hanna is asking for permission to attack the Vorthok fleet. She opened her eyes and stared at the numbers on the screen. The math was simple and terrible. 17 human ships could not defeat 10,000 alien vessels. But maybe they could buy Earth a little more time. Maybe they could make the Vorthok pay a price for their victory. "Permission granted," she said quietly. "All ships, attack when ready." As the human fleet moved toward certain death, something amazing happened. The orbital defense platforms, almost empty of ammunition, began firing their last shots, not at the Vorthok, but at the approaching human ships. They were transferring their remaining energy to boost the fleet's weapons and shields. On Earth's surface, the underground cities opened their blast doors. The poisoned air that had protected them for months now flowed into their homes. The people of Earth had made their choice. They would rather die fighting than live in fear. "All defense systems are going to maximum power," reported a technician. "We are burning out our equipment to give the fleet every advantage we can." Children in the underground cities stopped playing and looked up at the ceiling, knowing that above them, the final battle was about to begin. Parents held them close, whispering that everything would be okay, even though they knew it probably would not be. "The Vorthok are moving," announced the tactical officer. "Their main fleet is advancing toward Earth." The bioships came forward like a living tide of death. Their hulls pulsed with alien light, and they made strange singing sounds that meant hunger and victory. They had waited patiently for months, but now they were ready to finish what they started. "Our people are ready," Mira said into the communicator, speaking to Admiral Hannah. "Earth is ready." The human fleet, small and desperate, flew toward the massive Vorthok armada. Behind them, Earth burned with the light of failing defenses and dying hope. Ahead of them waited an enemy that had never known defeat, but in the hearts of every human. On every ship and in every tunnel, something burned brighter than fear. The refusal to surrender, the decision to make their enemy pay for every inch of ground, every breath of air, every drop of blood. The Vorthok had taken everything from humanity: their colonies, their ships, their future. But they had forgotten one important thing about humans. When people have nothing left to lose, they become the most dangerous creatures in the universe. The final battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it meant to fight for home. The final battle exploded across Earth's solar system like the birth of a violent star. Human ships, outnumbered and outgunned, used tactics born from desperation. They crashed into enemy vessels, made suicide attacks, and used hit-and-run strikes that cost everything but refused to give up. Admiral Kim Hannah stood on the bridge of the Defiant. Her ship's metal skin cracked and bleeding air into space. Watched Captain Lee Sunho's destroyer Indomitable fly straight into a massive Vorthok world killer ship. The explosion was so bright it lit up the entire solar system, destroying dozens of enemy vessels in a chain reaction of fire and death. "Admiral, we are losing too many ships," reported Lieutenant Park Min-ho, his voice steady even though chaos surrounded them. "The fleet cannot keep fighting like this much longer." "Then we die, taking as many of them with us as we can," Hannah replied, her hands firm on the command controls. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead, but her eyes never left the battle. Around them, space was filled with the wreckage of both human and alien ships. The Vorthok biovessels sang their death songs as they died, strange music that sounded like screaming metal and breaking bones. But for every human ship destroyed, they took 5 or 6 alien vessels with them. On Earth's surface, Dr. Kang Mira watched the space battle through failing sensors while Dr. Choi Hun-woo worked frantically on his final experiment. The quantum tunnel drive technology that had brought the Prometheus home was being changed into something never tried before: a galaxy-wide transmission system using Earth's modified ecosystem as a massive quantum transmitter. "The biological nuke twerk is falling apart," warned engineer Nam Soo-jin, sweat running down her face as she worked. "We have only minutes before the entire planetary defense system fails completely." "Then we make these minutes count," Mira said, her finger hovering over the transmission button. The plan was impossible, crazy, and probably suicidal, but it was also the only chance left. Hun-woo had discovered that the quantum tunnel technology could do more than move ships through space. It could send thoughts, emotions, and experiences across the galaxy instantly. "The power levels are at maximum," Hun-woo reported, his voice shaking with exhaustion. If this works, every thinking being in the galaxy will feel what we feel. If it fails, we will probably destroy Earth. Good, Mira said grimly. Let them all know what humans are made of. She pressed the button. What happened next broke every law of physics that humans understood. Every human death, every act of sacrifice, every moment of defiance was broadcast across the galaxy through quantum connections. The signal did not just carry information, it carried the unbreakable human spirit itself, on distant worlds. Alien species that had hidden from the Vorthok for centuries suddenly felt something they had forgotten. Courage. The Zelkari came out. Of their underground cities, their crystal weapons glowing with new purpose. The Thorani-activated war machines that had been sleeping for 1,000 years. The Nomani abandoned their policy of staying neutral and joined the fight. The Vorthok hive mind, used to crushing isolated resistance, suddenly found itself facing rebellion on 1,000 worlds at the same time. Perfect coordination broke apart as they struggled to respond to chaos erupting across their empire. Admiral, whispered Communications Officer Li Jiang, barely alive at her damaged station, we are getting messages from across the galaxy. Species we never heard of are thanking us for showing them how to fight. Admiral Hannah, badly wounded and barely conscious, looked through the Defiant's cracked windows as the Vorthok fleet began to retreat. The bioships that had seemed so powerful were pulling back, their hive mind overwhelmed by the galaxy-wide uprising. They are running, she said, her voice weak but filled with wonder. The Vorthok are actually running. Across the galaxy, the quantum transmission had done something the Vorthok never expected. It had shown every species that resistance was possible. That even the smallest, weakest beings could fight back if they had the courage to try. Earth burned. Beneath the retreating alien fleet, its surface scarred and nearly lifeless. But humanity had survived. The first refugee ships from newly liberated worlds were already approaching, carrying supplies and hope to help rebuild. In the ruins of Seoul, Dr. Kang Myra stood among the survivors, watching the sunrise paint the poisoned sky in shades of gold and red. Children emerged from the underground tunnels, seeing real sunlight for the first time in over a year. Adults cried as they breathed fresh air, even though it was still toxic. Will Earth heal? Asked a young girl, looking up at Mira with innocent eyes. Yes, Mira said, kneeling down to the child's level. Earth will heal. Humans will rebuild. And the galaxy will remember the day when one species chose to burn rather than surrender. The age of the Vorthok was ending. The age of resistance had begun. Across the galaxy, billions of beings were learning that freedom was worth fighting. For that courage was contagious, that sometimes the smallest spark could light the biggest fire. As Admiral Hannah closed her eyes for the last time, she smiled. But Vorthok had taken everything from humanity. Their worlds, their fleets, their future. But they had forgotten the most important thing about humans. They had nothing left to lose, so they became the storm itself.